What's up, everyone? It's Chicks in the Office with Rhea and Fran. It is Fran. Shocking. Hello, everyone. No Rhea today. She is very under the weather. Like, tried to come to work, and we told her to get the fuck out of here because she really was not feeling well at all. So we have Bachelor coverage. Kelly Keegs is here with me right now.
Here I am.
Here she is.
Don't be disappointed. Yeah. Please don't be disappointed.
No Rhea and no Trent.
I know. It's like, it's a bad day when you have to go all the way down the line.
Every time.
No, it's true. It's true. I know.
Everyone, some good vibes to Trent, our sweet little Trent.
Sweet angel Trent.
Sweet angel baby Trent.
Sweet angel
so
baby
many
Trent.
good vibes. He's just going through a little bit. He tweeted about it. He's got some personal stuff going on. So he is not doing Bachelor content this week. He could be back next week. He could not. This is, he's on his own timetable here. And
he's always invited. If he doesn't come, he's there in memory.
We always support Trent no matter what, always and forever. And so we have a 2-woman duo tonight. We are covering Women Tell All. We are covering Fantasy Suites. We did Cutting Stems. It was very thorough. It was very great. So honestly, we are just going to play our initial thoughts from Cutting Stems instead of just completely redoing the conversation we just had an hour ago.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think too, if we said this before we went on Cutting Stems, I think you and I are the most technical when it comes to it.
I know.
And just can't stop talking. So
we
it's
can't.
An extensive episode.
And to be honest, it also gave me the point where I was like, I know Cutting Stems is going to be long. If Kelly and I recap on the podcast again, it might go 2 hours. Like, we might actually go.
It really would.
It just would get too intense. So at this point, and then it gets too serious. There's no joke from Rhea to cut
exactly.
it.
Yeah. It's all just like
all of a sudden
heart and soul for the Bachelor.
It's really digging in. And I also hate when it's like that because I'm like, it is a TV show. So there has to be some light moments. We're going to do that. It's going to be great. We had a great Cutting Stems show. We have a lot of thoughts about what happened. And then we also have an interview with Deepti from Love is Blind. I almost said Love Island. From Love is Blind season 2, talking about a lot of controversial reality TV men on this episode.
So many. I first of all love Deepti. I hope that we're team Deepti big time.
Big time. She's my favorite one, I think.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Love her. I haven't heard that interview, so I'm also excited to listen to it, Fran.
Yep. Thank you, Kelly. It's all good stuff. So we are gonna jump into all the Bachelor coverage, Women Tell All, and Fantasy Suites. So let's get into it. All right, we're gonna start with the Women Tell All, but first, guys, Celsius. We have had so many Celsius in the office. Celsiuses, I guess, is the
I don't know.
Celsi?
is what, like octopus?
The plural? Yeah.
Octopi.
They're a great energy drink. They help you stay active and energized all day. They're made with premium ingredients, 0 sugar, 7 essential vitamins, so they're not like a traditional energy drink. They have amazing flavors: watermelon, grape, mango, passion fruit, raspberry, acai, peach, mango, strawberry, guava, so many more.
Damn.
I was drinking it's not listed on here, but it's just orange. The orange one.
Just a good old orange.
Good old orange. I was drinking it the other day. They're delicious.
Yeah, they are really good.
They are really good.
I've stolen a couple. I see them floating around.
Yeah,
I'm like, ooh, that looks like a sweet treat for me.
I know, it is an energy drink, but honestly, it has very much like a sparkling water kind of taste to it.
Which is very much my vibe. I'm a
so
sparkling
good
water girl. Usually energy drinks aren't my bag. This one is very
Exactly.
good.
So that helps so much so that you get this the boost that you need, the Celsius. They have different product lines as well. So the Celsius Heat includes caffeine to help boost energy. The Celsius BCAA Plus Energy, which helps with recovery after a workout. And then they have Celsius On the Go, which are small powder packets. They have them in all their flavors. Just add it to your water bottle whenever you need a boost. So, like I said, they're great for that little jolt. They were certainly needed today. Tuesdays are an absolute Tuesdays are a marathon when the Bachelor is on Tuesday nights. We had that a couple times in the last couple of years where they've been on Tuesday nights. And we've done work all day Tuesday into Bachelor, into just Cutting Stems, into podcasts. Need a Celsius. So you can go over to Celsius.com to find a store near you, or you can order online at Amazon, Walmart, or Target. Celsius, live fit.
Ooh, love that.
We actually have a ton to get through.
2 episodes worth.
Like,
2 episodes
so
worth.
much.
Really a lot.
Honestly,
where do we even start?
It helps that it's just the 2. I miss Rhea and Trent a lot.
Of course, no, we miss them desperately.
We have the Women Tell All and the Fantasy Suites. So much happened. It was just really, from start to finish, like, kind of a crazy week. No, I would change that maybe to Women Tell All, because we're going to start with Monday.
Yeah, we're gonna do Women Tell All first.
Yeah, I think we got to do Women Tell All first.
For sure.
That really centered around Shanae. A lot of it. It was Shanae, it was Sarah. Teddy and Serene had their moments, but it wasn't really anything too crazy.
Right.
I think the biggest story out of this was how the women spoke to Shanae and how Shanae reacted. It was a disaster.
My jaw was on the floor the
Back and
entire
forth.
time. Honestly, first of all, the Women Tell All is always entertaining to watch because the women just scream at each other the whole time. I think we've gotten to the point though where there's too much yelling over each other. They all talk at the same time, and we know that the women are doing this because Women Tell All is kind of their shot to audition for Paradise, for other shows within the franchise. I feel like we all know that by now. So the women want to stand out. They want to say things that are going to, get the blood pumping, get those quotes for Twitter. They want all of that.
Lindsay W.
I'm gonna, straight up. I am going to go ahead and say that the women took it too far this time around. They got a little vicious.
I mean, it really did.
On.
And as terrible as Shanae was,
and she is a monster.
And she
let's
really
be clear.
did double down. She didn't apologize. She didn't say a single thing. This is a thing, but she knows she riles up the women. And she can see that reaction. And the women were not able to hold back and take the higher road. I know I saw a lot of discussion of 2 wrongs don't make a right. And that's what was happening, where she continued to not apologize. The girls got more and more angry. They got more and more vicious, sinister. Lindsay W said right in Ohio, I think.
Something like that. Something like that. I also want to point out, because I thought it was when I knew it was downhill and we've lost control of the situation.
It was crazy.
Yes, it was insane. One, it was when Shanae got up off of her chair to go sit in the hot seat. I think it was Genevieve and Sierra. Based on I only heard their voices, so I'm not totally positive it's them, but based on their voice, I think it's them.
It was Genevieve. Being she addressed
being
it on
what
Instagram,
is she what is that dress, whatever, what does she have on? God, her ass looks ridiculous, she looks like shit. People were saying, it was almost like they had hot mics and they didn't think that it was gonna be on TV. I think it's the first time that they've played what the girls are saying to each other during a moment like that. I've never heard people just so, just total gang up. And again, I do not like Shanae. I think Shanae is also garbage. I think she said a lot of terrible things. I think that she had the opportunity to clear the air, like you said, and she just didn't.
All she needed was to have one small moment of humility that would have gone miles. The way that the girls ganged up on her, everybody started to feel a little bit sympathetic.
Yeah.
And then if she went up and talked to Jesse Palmer and said, looking back, do I regret some of the things I did? Yes, I apologize. She did. She just doubled down on all the women being fake. Everybody's a liar. Everyone's fake. Meanwhile, she openly admits to not wanting to apologize when she was when Clayton asked her to apologize and she apologized to the group and then she went back and the crying and everything, all the girls were you lied. You lied. You said that you wanted to do that, you did it. And she's yeah, you're right. I didn't want to do that. I did that for Clayton. It's okay, then you're lying right now.
Right.
She continued to not own up to a single thing. And then she felt it was going to be smart to try and drop a bomb on Genevieve and be
what the fuck was that?
She's when I was sent home, I was so distraught. I was so uncomfortable. I was so upset for weeks and everything. And then she's when Genevieve went home, she hooked up with Aaron.
No, Fran, she said
she thought she did one of these.
She put on, honestly,
and everyone was "You're really?"
She put on a show like nobody's business. She gave us too much detail. She's I went home, I could barely sleep, I could barely eat, I lost weight, and you went home and you went out to a bar and fucked Aaron from Katie's season.
Yeah.
And it was gasp, group collectively. Genevieve's face when she said that, I felt bad for Genevieve in that moment because first of all, I think it's fucked up to bring up stuff that's within Bachelor Nation. And Shanae continued to be you went out with Bachelor Nation, you whatever. honestly, I think a more realistic approach to getting dumped is like hooking up with somebody who means nothing versus like, crying yourself to sleep with Shanae. I don't know what you're crying yourself to sleep about for. Like you and Clayton made out a bunch. It's not like you had an emotional connection in any way. Like I was really racking my brains trying to think of the emotional connection that Clayton and Shanae had, and I don't remember a single conversation except for him asking her like, are you fucking with these girls? And then also, can you apologize to these girls? That was like the only time that she ever really talked with Clayton. Honestly, like I can't remember anything.
And what she takes everyone by surprise, so then they go so defensive. Like Genevieve has not been able to learn how to not get so defensive about it, which is fair because look, when someone pushes your buttons as much as Shanae does, you're gonna lash out. It was over the top, but she was like, oh. And it's just also funny that this is Erin. Like, and it's like, I talked to Erin. Me and Erin are friends. Me and Erin and all this. And then like, she said that the DMs, and she was like, I know that you slid into Erin's DMs. She's like, no, I haven't. She's like, yeah, you like all of his stories. And she's like, well, that's not sliding into
That's not sliding in. But then
like,
she
goes,
that's
something.
No, but that is something. But then Genevieve was like, I have the screenshots of you sending him like weird shit. So, I mean, screenshots, girls, ladies, men, anybody.
Yeah.
People will take screenshots of everything you say. Like, be careful what you say. If you don't want to own up to something that you've said, don't send it. Especially on Instagram. Especially if you're going to start airing out people's personal life shit that's not filmed and not public, you have to know that your DMs are probably going to get made fun of.
Yeah, I guess this is probably some advice for Bachelor Nation. If you are sliding into someone else's DMs and they see it, you see the scene, and they don't reply, give it like a couple hours, and they don't reply, unsend the message.
Unsend it. Take it away. Don't get, like, you're probably too late,
people
but take
forget
it
to
away.
screenshot, and then they go back, they're like, oh, let me go back and look. Then they're gone.
Unsend it. You know who would love that? Is Blake, what's his face, would have loved that function. Would have loved to unslide, I bet, from a couple of, on his way to,
on his way home from Stagecoach.
Stagecoach.
His way home from Stagecoach. Probably would have loved that.
God, how could I forget?
Yeah, so it was just a disaster with Shanae. It did feel like the girls went a little too hard, but once again, she is a mess and a half. Teddy had her moment. It also kind of weirdly felt like Teddy and Clayton now from where maybe just because now from where we are, it's like, oh, Teddy, like.
Yeah.
There was no connection there. I mean, there was. She did get the first impression rose. She talked about the pressure of that.
Yeah.
And she shared that one of Clayton's brothers slid into her DMs. A lot of sliding.
I liked that. I like that she shared that fact. I also like that Clayton was cool about it. Clayton tweeted the next day.
She also clearly told all the girls, because all the girls were like, say it or I'm going to say it.
Yeah, that was nuts. Again with the DMs. Everybody's going to air out your DMs. Don't DM and expect that nobody's going to see it. But I thought that was funny that she said that. I loved the point that she brought up about the first impression rose. I've never thought about that, about how much pressure it is to get that first impression rose. Because imagine you go in, night one, you're the girl. He's looking at you. And then the rest of the time, you have to continue to fight to be in the forefront of his mind. Right, you have to live up to the rose, you have to fight for it. And of course, you're not always gonna get that attention right away. So you have to take a backseat and like accept that you got that rose, and accept also that it might not be enough to carry you through the whole competition. Like it's just, that's so much pressure. I now think I wouldn't want the first impression rose.
No, I know, it does feel like it is a lot. And Clayton tweeted that none of his brothers were owning up to sending the DM, but then he also said that he does believe that the DM was sent. He does have two brothers. I think that the brothers were also going back on their Instagram stories, like joking about it. One of them definitely sent it. I think Pat.
Yeah, could be. I didn't investigate into the brothers.
Pat might be the one that sent it.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like they were joking that Pat is like they were calling him a rat. I don't know. They were like it is brother banter. Brother banter. They were having this going on.
He can't get too bad about that. Like they did have I feel like they had a pretty good connection, but to be honest, I never saw like, besides the first impression moment, I didn't really see many sparks with them after. They just seemed to be like two caring people who cared about each other. But I don't think I saw.
And I'll be honest, like that really does. I don't know how many siblings in total Clayton has. We know that he does have two brothers. If it's just the three boys, or even just three brothers in general, I feel like that is a very like typical like brother move.
Totally.
You know, I just I sent her a
I got your
DM,
girl. You didn't want her,
as
I'll
a joke,
take her.
as a goof. I just sent the DM.
It's
So
just ridiculous.
that was funny. Serene had her moment where she kind of got to talk about her exit. There wasn't really anything too
the Serene
crazy
segment
there.
Yeah, the Serene segment bored me to tears, but I do think that she is very sweet. She
She's
looked really
great.
sweet. She's very nice. I was feeling bad
She
for her.
seems very normal.
Yeah.
And she got to watch a lot. Like, she was watching some of the footage, I think, for the first time. So she was
Totally.
getting emotional watching it as well. And I think she was able to have that moment with Clayton where Clayton can say, like, it wasn't you telling me, like, you were in love with me that did that. And all
that
this.
was nice, yeah. Validating
yes.
her feelings. I have a question for you. Do you think that that Serene was kind of the first glimpse that we saw into Clayton sort of like selling the same story to all these girls? Like her main thing was like, why would you say these nice things to me? Or why would you like let me say that? Why would you make me feel like my feelings are reciprocated? Right. And now it's blowing up in his face. But was Serene like was she like the first domino? You know?
It does feel like that way because at that point he did say he was falling for all the women that were there when there was 4 girls left.
Yeah.
So that does feel like he was kind of going through some of the motions. And then really the big question of the night. Did Clayton cry?
Did he
Clayton
cry?
Did Clayton cry? They really should have started that chat because
it was unbelievable.
Sarah gets up there. The girls all say she lied about it. She says Clayton did cry. She didn't lie. They're like, oh, I can't believe you're still saying this. They're like, okay, Clayton comes out. Clayton comes out. And I forget which of the women said it, but they were like, oh, great. We just had Sarah up there. And she said that you cried on your first one-on-one date. And he's like, I did not cry on our first one-on-one date. And then she said something in her seat. She was like, well, he didn't cry to me. It was like, wait, okay, honey. Like,
her shit
no.
Here's what I think happened there.
Yeah.
I bet that Sarah went to go have this conversation with him. She was probably teary. It was probably like an intimate conversation. And she probably came back to relate to the girls like, oh, I don't know. We had such a good convo. Like, we were both crying. Like, it was great. It was probably so offhanded. And the girls were like, Clayton was crying about you? And then it just ran from there. Like, I can't imagine she purposefully was trying to be, like, she's like young, whatever. That was like the main thing against her, right? Mara Marinero was always like, she's too young, she's not ready for it. I think that, I very much think that was like an offhanded thing that just like went too far. And I think that that Clayton doubling down and being like, listen, you've all seen me cry. Like, you know that I'll cry. And I did not cry in that moment. I did not cry.
Yeah.
And it just was like a weird, it was a weird thing to latch onto. Everybody latched onto it for too long.
I did laugh. I saw a clip of Sarah after the taping and she was doing an interview and it was the interviewer was like, did he cry? And she was like, I just don't really think that that's relevant anymore. I'm like, oh, you're probably really good at your Wall Street job. Like,
right.
Like,
and that's basically what she said at the end of it, right? She was like, when they kept peppering her, being like, now that Clayton has confirmed he did not cry, what do you have to say? And she was like,
well, I think
this isn't relevant.
This isn't just
anymore.
like a big deal and I'm over it. Like, okay, yeah, you're over it. We're over it.
Like, whatever.
I know. The women did not hold back when Clayton came out. They really did give him a scolding.
They gave him the business. Like. Yeah, they really did.
And a lot of the women were very upset that he did not listen to them about Shanae and he did with Sarah. And I will say, for that scenario, and Clayton explained this on the podcast when he came on last week, that like when the women were coming to him about Shanae, it was so early on in this process that he did not really know these women.
Right.
And he had that physical connection with Shanae, obviously.
Always, from minute one.
And so he wasn't really sure like who to trust at that moment because it was so early on. And like now he's like, yeah, I made a mistake. But when the other women later came to him about Sarah, it was weeks in and they were all women he really connected with and had a bond with and respect for. And that's when he took that seriously.
Right.
Was later. And he sent Sarah home right away. So, yes, did he make mistakes? Very much. I think very much so. I think he tried to make the most of it. And it is very telling from the way that Sierra ended the show.
Oh my God, that statement.
Now it makes a lot more sense.
Sierra came out. First of all,
it makes a lot more sense.
Sierra was I would say the most vocal out of everyone. She was the in the group of the girls that were the meanest, she was the nicest to the girls that were up in the hot seat, apart from Shanae.
Yeah.
And she really laid into Clayton at the end. She did a little bit of both. She said, first she was like, I've heard bits and pieces of what's happened about the finale, and if that's all true, like, who do you think you are, basically?
Pretty much. She
Which
was
is
like,
tough.
if what we're hearing is true,
Yeah.
how dare you?
How dare you? Literally, how dare you? And then almost in the same breath, it seems, she said, listen, it's really hard to navigate what you were navigating, and I can't imagine dating 30 women, so like props to you for doing the best you can.
Yeah.
And I was like, girl, you just like ripped him apart 2 seconds ago, but I guess both are true, like, or can be true.
Yeah, it really did seem like some clearly are like okay with him, some are not. I mean, Kira was like, hey,
she's trying to get back in
to
it.
say if you're single right now, I'm also single.
Yeah, and she might be like the first runner up. Honestly, we don't even know. We don't know if Clayton's engaged or not.
I know.
What do you think? At this moment?
At this moment, no.
I think no way at this moment.
I have no faith in that
I feel
at
like
all.
there's no way.
Zero.
We might get shocked, but by the way that things are crumbling, this house of cards is coming right down. I can't imagine.
I really can't either. They ended with bloopers, of course. I did like the throwback Jesse Palmer moments from his season.
He looks so much like Clayton there too, doesn't he? They're so the same. Even the way they kind of talk, like you can tell Jesse Palmer's like a little more nervous than Clayton, but they are on the same wavelength as far as nerves and like awkwardness and conversation. So that was, I love a trip down memory lane, always.
Yeah. Okay, we are going to get into fantasy suites and everything that happened, but just a little reminder, can't stop talking about the reality TV. Siesta Key is back tomorrow.
Excuse me?
Thursday night on MTV, 9/8 Central. I'm excited for this because there has been a lot of drama that has happened. I think, Juliet has kind of become the star of this show.
I think that was always
feel like she's taken the top dog role.
Yep.
And we saw her boyfriend Sam, and they were together for a while, but now it looks like they broke up. She's got a new boyfriend. There's all this drama going on. You got to see what friendships are working, what friendships aren't working. Chloe's getting married.
I was just going to ask, how's my girl Chloe? I'm a little behind.
Chloe's getting married. I did compare you to,
I heard about that. I heard about that, which is a good comparison.
Devin was like, you know what? Kelly will be fine with that.
No, I'm all right with that.
We picked.
She starts some shit
all
the time.
We picked Barstool personalities and matched them to Siesta Key.
Yeah.
Personalities. So it's really, if you want to tune in, see what's happening. I know that there's been a lot. I know there's been, a lot that's gone on in Madison's life as well, which has, it's been very intense. So you can decide on who is really to blame, if anyone in this crew can truly change, if friendships can be mended, if they're broken forever, the drama. So in Siesta Key, there's always more to the story. So don't miss the new season of Siesta Key premiering tomorrow at 9/8 Central only on MTV. Okay, let's get into the fantasy suites. So the ladies and Clayton are in Iceland. We know that Susie is starting to have some doubts when it comes to fantasy suites. She is the fantasies. There's always one that's like, fantasy suites.
She's got a problem with the fantasy suites, and we had no idea until just now.
We did not know.
Yep.
But shockingly, Clayton, right at the beginning of the episode, says he's falling in love with Rachel and Gabby, and he's in love with Susie.
Yep.
Like he was like, that's where they're at. So of course, Susie has the last date because production. Why would production not do that? It's a terrible deja vu to Pilot Pete's season. Like, it's the same shit where it's like, you caught me, I already had sex.
Right. It's like, what do you do now?
Shit.
Like, I said it upstairs, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Like, it's already happened. You gotta bring this up ahead of time.
I know.
But
I know, it's really
I want to point out something that I noticed was different. With Rachel. He was saying goodbye to Rachel. She's up on her balcony, and she's like, I love you, Clayton. And he's like, I love you too, Rachel. Like, we did the impersonation of him all night.
I love you
too, Rachel. Like, he was so amped to say, I love you to Rachel.
I love you too, Rachel.
They tried to recreate that same vibe with Gabby, and Gabby was like, I'm falling in love with you, Clayton. And he was like, I'm falling in love with you too, Gabby. Like, it was like, that I thought was so funny.
And it feels
so good.
Yeah,
it feels so good. that is like, or no, he wasn't even saying like, I'm falling in love with you, Gabby. It was like, I'm falling in love and it feels so good. Like, of all people, Gabby should be pissed because she got the least amount of I love you.
The
you know?
cut from like him being so happy at the end of each date to him like prepping for the Susie date and being like, oh fuck.
Yeah, no, like, that was tough. That was tough.
Oh shit. So, okay, let's back it up. So he goes on, the first date is with Rachel. They go down into a volcano. I'll be honest, it doesn't, from a viewer standpoint, we haven't seen great conversation between Rachel and Clayton. It's very obvious that they have a very clear physical attraction to each other.
Very physical relationship, for sure.
They go into that volcano. Doesn't even really feel like they talk too much.
No, it's like every time they talk, it's always kind of whispery. And that makes me think that maybe they talk more when maybe they're just nervous together. Maybe she's nervous when the cameras are rolling. So I can't imagine it being like it being comfortable in that moment if one of them is uncomfortable. But it is always, it seems strained. The conversation seems strained with them until they're making out. You know, it just seems kind of like, you're so pretty. Yeah, you're handsome. Yeah, like, I'm worried about my parents, but you're gonna do great. Like, it's always kind of like a little bit of a hurdle they're overcoming in the middle of their conversations. Like, to be honest, I wasn't sure by the time they got to the actual suite that he was gonna have sex with Rachel. Like, I thought that she might turn him down and be like, I'm not having sex. You know?
It's gotta be honeydew.
It has to be honeydew. I think that it is, because look
know, it's the same
look
shape.
At this honeydew
it's
on
the same
top.
shape.
It looks like
I think it's just from when they had to put the chocolate on.
Yeah, maybe it's like maybe it's a little extra sugar.
I was listening to everything.
No, I knew you were.
Said.
I knew you were.
I swear.
I knew you were.
Rachel, I do agree with you. It's just like that would have been the one I actually would have thought maybe they didn't have sex. Like, I don't know why, but like it did feel like that could have been possible.
I thought she would be like a withholder.
Yeah,
you know? Being like, no, we'll cuddle, but
right. Big Tone's watching.
Yeah, exactly.
So they have a great date. Obviously, they have their overnight moment, and it's. Yep. I love yous from across the
very intimate
roof
morning.
And very
intimate morning. It didn't even look like the usual mornings they show. It's like my favorite part always. They show the clothes on the floor, the birds and the bees, whatever. I feel like we didn't get that, or at least I missed it if we did that, because it was right onto them, like so snugly, intimate kisses in bed. Like, so happy I woke up next to you. Like, like if I were to see that back, if I'm Susie or Gabby, I'm very upset.
I like Rachel a lot, just like as a person too. I loved how she went back to the girls, and that is so awkward. They make them do this every season where the girls have to go back to the two other girls now after the fantasy suites, and she's like, look, like, I respect both of you so much, like, this is gonna be awkward. Like, and so I very much understood. I thought that was the right way to go. Like, be like, I don't have a lot of details to share, but that is.
Yeah.
I really like both of you.
Right.
And I feel like we probably shouldn't get in too deep.
Totally. Yeah, she said, like, I like you both. We all respect each other. And Susie at this point is agreeing, but you can tell on her face that she's like stressed out. And then Rachel said something like, oh, you know, sorry in advance, like whatever. Like, and
I'm sorry in advance. It's gonna be weird.
It's gonna be weird. I think at that point is when Susie, I think it clicked for her, like, we're all having sex with Clayton. Like they had sex last night.
Right.
Something is gonna happen here. So even when Gabby got her date, I feel like Susie she was just stressing the fuck out the entire time.
Yeah. Gabby goes second. They have the dune buggies in the sand. Very cool, very fun date. And then they have their overnights like in this igloo type looking,
which was very
place.
cool. Yeah, it looked like
cool.
I guess more an igloo is better. I was calling it a honeycomb. It looked like the Hearst building. You know, like it was that kind of whatever. A little room view of Iceland.
Yeah. Same kind of thing. Dinner, falling in love with you.
Pretty much the same combo.
Everyone's taking it back. It's like rinse and repeat. We're just going through the steps of telling each girl that. You're in love with them over the food and wine that you're not eating.
Yes.
So this happens round 2. Gabby's very happy, and they also had a great date. They're both talking. They have great chemistry. Like, it's very interesting how each girl is different, and we've talked about this, where it really does feel like Rachel, their physical chemistry is the strongest. Gabby, like, their personality, chemistry, like friend laughing, like they have a good emotional bond.
Totally.
And Susie's somewhere in between, which is always like, okay, so maybe Susie's the one.
Right.
And it does seem like that, because he says, I'm falling in love with these two, but I'm in love with Susie.
Yeah. Right. And then to the point where when he's talking to Susie later, he's like, I love you the most, like, which is Tough.
Tough. And like Gabby's on this date. We're watching Susie say she's spiraling while walking down a spiral staircase with some of the most ominous music this show has used. It really did feel like
Bravo on that.
It felt like Disney villain music.
Totally.
You know?
Completely. Right.
It's
right.
like
It's always right. All of those moments.
PG music.
Right.
But
the ominous.
yeah.
Like it's a little ominous. It's a little foreboding. You're like, what's
Yeah.
going on here? You can sense something bad's about to happen. And I think that I feel bad for Susie thinking about all the time she had to like wait for the other two to go on the dates in her head, knowing that she was gonna have a problem with this, and probably beating herself up like, fuck, I've never actually brought this up. Like I didn't even tell Clayton. Like I hope, and then that even puts more pressure on Clayton to be like, I hope that he knows not to do these things that are gonna bother me before I see him without me getting a chance to tell him.
Oh,
How can he do
I have
that?
a question for you.
Yeah.
If you're Clayton, and production gives you an option of the order of fantasy suites you want, and you know in your mind, like you feel like you have the strongest connection with Susie at the time, but of course the other two aren't written off because you're in love with all of them.
Right, of course.
Do you pick Susie to go first or Susie to go last?
I think I'm picking Susie to go first. I think I'm going Susie, Rachel, Gabby.
Right.
Because I think that
that does make more sense. Because if Susie's number one and you start off with Susie and you're like, yes, this is it, you can kind of easily
you can maybe cut back on the I love yous and the sex
on the other
with everyone else.
women.
And I think that's kind of what he got into.
Alas.
But all right, so let's talk about Susie's actual date.
Was last.
She really got hosed. She got hosed.
They
this
had
time.
the spa date, the
spa
cold
date.
plunge, hot sauna, cold plunge again.
Cold to hot. She hated that.
She
wanted nothing to do
well,
with that.
Well, it was quite windy.
It was very windy.
The weather looked awful.
I don't mind like a hot plunge, cold plunge, cool mist, hot mist, but you have to, first of all, you gotta go hot first. They put them right in the cold mist and then right in the cold plunge. And it has to be like warm weather outside. It was freezing in Iceland, basically, or what it looked like.
Looked
like
cold.
It didn't look like something she was wanting to do. She looked miserable the whole time. I think also probably in the back of her head is like, what am I fucking doing here? Like I already know this guy is two-timing a little bit. What do I do? Her dinner outfit, I can't stop talking about it. I'm gonna try to wear my hair like that tomorrow. So cute. I don't know how she did it.
That would be a great.
So cute.
The whole green would be a good look for you.
The green was amazing. The earrings, I was obsessed. The outfit, she looked amazing. Unfortunately, she comes in and they start talking. Clayton says,
goes through the I love you speech.
Yep. Which I will say
was by round 3 started to sound real similar to the other two. It
sounded real similar, but I do think in his eyes, it looked the most genuine. I do believe that he likes Susie the most.
I think that's why he freaked out so hard.
Of course. But so Susie then comes out and she's like, listen, I wasn't expecting you to say I love you. So she went into it not expecting anything, maybe hoping that he didn't say it to anyone.
Yeah.
Now he's saying it to her. She's like, wow, I didn't expect it. But knowing that now, I need to know if you're saying that just to me or if you said that to everyone else and if you're having sex with everybody else.
Yeah.
And Clayton's ears turned more red than these strawberries. I have never seen a man more flustered in the moment because he's caught. He can't lie.
And he admits to, like, it just grows. It starts off with like, yes, I have told other women that I've fallen in love with them and I slept with someone. He kind of left it singular.
And I slept with someone.
Like it left it singular.
Someone else, I think.
And then as the conversation starts going, it turned into, I slept with both. But really, Susie was like, look, if you're having sex with these other girls, like this could be a deal breaker for me. And, I didn't want to give you an ultimatum because I wanted, it's the classic dilemma. She's like, I don't want to give you an ultimatum, but I'm kind of giving you an ultimatum because now this is basically over if you continue to tell me what you're telling me.
Right.
But I didn't do it also because I just hoped that you would know to not do that, which
that's tough.
It's really hard. And I will say I get it from both sides. Like at first, I very much was like, Susie, I love you. If that was such a big deal breaker, you gotta throw that in at some point a little earlier on. And maybe she didn't realize it until later when her feelings got more serious. And then that's understandable. They don't have a lot of time to tell each other these things.
Right.
And that's very much a scenario where a production wants a moment like this where she could go to her producer and be like, hey, I really need to talk to Clayton about fantasy suites. And they're like, no,
Not happening. Yeah.
Sorry, no, you can tell them when
won't
you're
have-
last on the fantasy suite
it's like,
dates.
oh, you have a problem with fantasy suites? You're gonna go third
okay, you're
now.
gonna go last.
You're gonna go third.
Okay, you're gonna go last. So at first it was like, okay, the ultimatum that is, I don't want to give the ultimatum, but here's an ultimatum. And then it just spiraled. Clayton's reaction to it was so poor.
Oof.
And I think Susie was really just looking for the reassurance that she wanted, because she was saying, I understand what you're saying, going through the process and exploring your relationships.
And she said, I don't want to take away from the process
Yeah,
either,
yeah,
which is also why I didn't say anything.
So I understand, like, as she had the conflicting thoughts on expressing this to Clayton in the first place, because she didn't want to be like, oh, you have to end being the Bachelor now. Like, if it's me, you can't be the Bachelor anymore.
Right.
And he did not handle it well.
No,
he got angry.
didn't.
He got mean. I think she really just wanted to talk things out a little bit more. I think she wanted him to
Fran.
fight for her a little bit.
Fran, that is the nail on the head. I don't think when she said, like, oh, you had sex with other people, you told other people you love it, that's kind of a deal breaker for me. I don't think that was actually a deal breaker. I think that in hearing that, she wanted to express that she didn't like it, and then probably could have been talked into it being fine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that if the way that Clayton started was frustrated and like, I wish you said some things sooner, like, I feel this way about you the most, but like, I am trying to go through this experience, like, I've expressed feelings to other people, I have been intimate with them, that he started off okay, and I was on his side, and I am very much in the camp of like, you gotta bring this up sooner. But when Clayton kind of flipped and started putting it on Susie, being like, why didn't you say this before? Like, it's invalidated everything.
This.
Yeah,
you invalidated everything.
You invalidated everything that our relationship
really
is.
harsh.
It was bad, and I can't believe that Clayton. I've never seen Clayton be such a dick. Like, he was just being a dick, and I it's our new bestie. I don't want to say he's a dick, but damn.
I know. I feel bad because I do really think, and you could see from when he said, like, I don't want to be raising my voice right now, but he was.
Yeah.
It was just like, I think he really did like Susie so much that unfortunately his reaction, because his emotions were so high, was to get angry.
Totally. Right.
And that unfortunately was not the way to go.
No.
And I do feel like if maybe when he said, I am in love with you the most, I am so sorry, like, please do not leave. I want to talk this out. Like,
yes.
I had to explore. I know I keep saying explore. It's like the worst word to use.
It is.
He
But
said
it's
explore
true.
1,000 times.
Yeah, that's how
I
it
had
is.
to explore. This is just like kind of the way the show works at this point. where
Right. I don't understand why he didn't fight
Susie,
for her.
you know that this happens in fantasy suites, and Clayton knows this happens in fantasy suites, and he did not hold back in that, and I think it honestly upsets the women more, and it seems like it from the trailer, that he is having sex with them post I love yous. And they all do not know that everyone's getting I love yous.
Exactly, which would be a problem for me too, honestly. If I'm on that show and you're telling me I love you, especially
the I love you and then sex is very different than the just sex.
Feels a little manipulative.
Yeah.
But I will say this too, is that on every other season of The Bachelor, I always talk about this. If the Bachelor or Bachelorette says, I love you to multiple people, it's always a huge fucking problem.
Yeah.
It's always an issue. And I think that this time around, it's still an issue, but you're right. It's the order in which he did it. Like, you can't say I love you to, like, bag the girl. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how, and that's how it looks. Like, maybe that wasn't his intention.
I think that's how Rachel and Gabby are going to feel.
Totally. And it's not
when they're like, oh, he just told all of us he's in love with us.
It'd be one thing if he would accept I love yous. Like, if each three of these girls were like, I love you. Like, I'm falling for you, straight up, I love you.
Yeah.
You don't have to say anything back, but I love you, I want you to know that. And then he had sex with them. I think he's in the clear as far as, like, making promises and whatever. But to give a big speech, which each of them was like, listen, take your hands.
Massive speech.
I have to tell you, like, I'm falling for you. I've been falling for you. You're the apple of my eye. I love you.
I love you.
It's just too
You did
much.
it 3 times.
It's just too much.
I know.
Like, how can you? And I mean, I know what you can love or lust over a couple people at a time, but to hand in hand, I love you. Let's go back and have sex for the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, Clayton, baby.
And what
are you doing?
And Susie has a very pure vibe, you know what I'm saying?
Completely.
Like, watching her walk out, being so sad, being like, I just wish that went differently, was heartbreaking because I think, and it's changed for her too. Like she's like, I'm sorry, like I'm sorry, like this is over now, like I messed this up. Like it was like I didn't
That was
like
awful. I hated it.
The whole conversation took a terrible turn where then Susie was like, oh, should I have even brought this up? Like she's like, now I know I'm going home already. Like that vibe where it's like, oh, like I know I messed this up. And
Right.
I really feel like the more she was talking like that, the more it was like, Clayton, don't let her go. Like you have to explain yourself a little bit more, try to, and it just,
I mean,
didn't work.
I
hated the way he was talking to her.
Take some of the weight off her shoulders. Take some of the blame off of her shoulders.
Yeah.
I would say that going into that, Susie had a problem she was bringing to her boyfriend to talk out. And Clayton turned that into making it her problem and her fault and everything that she did wrong and that it's irreversible because of her. And I'm sure next week we're going to see a sob fest of guilt and him wishing he didn't act that way because holy shit. I mean, the behavior is unacceptable. It just really is.
I saw a tweet that made a lot of sense too. It was like Clayton is still living by the Bachelor rules and Susie's living by real life rules, right?
Yes,
Like she's very much thinking, I don't know if I can be engaged to this man if he is sleeping with other women, which in the real world makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm packing my shit and out the door.
Makes a lot of sense.
Happening.
But in Clayton's mind, he's still the Bachelor, and in Fantasy Suites, this is how it goes. And in order to know who it is at the end, you need to explore those physical connections. And it did feel like Susie still understood that. She was like, no, I get that. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just telling you how I feel about it.
Completely. I think if Clayton had been a little more understanding and remorseful instead of jumped right to anger, they could have worked that out.
I think
so
really
too.
I
think it was this close.
I think if he had a better reaction to that and actually really tried to talk it out, that would have gone a lot better. The immediate anger and talking down to her really did not work. It was bad, and yes, she surprised him, but the why wouldn't you tell me that? Like, it's like, whoa, buddy, we don't spend every day together. No. Like, I don't know.
It's a totally different thing.
This is still a TV show. Like, why wouldn't, when was I supposed to tell you that this was going to be a deal breaker for me? I didn't know. I can't just text you and say this was going to be a deal breaker.
Also, you know what? I bet Susie was probably thinking in her head, because this is how I would think, and it would probably have gone this way. If she had said, maybe she could have gotten away with it at Hometowns.
Yeah.
But if she had said in advance before Fantasy Suites was final, she might not have made it that far. You know what I mean? Like he might have been like, oh shit, I have to do this process, and she's great, but like I don't know. Like I don't know how he would have done.
Even when she said she was falling for him on the clock tower, it could have been something said there, but it's still like you still don't quite know. I don't know. I don't think Susie's necessarily thinking that way until all of a sudden you're getting ready for Fantasy Suites and they're right in front of you and you're like, oh,
right. Right when you see the first girl come back with that post-sex glow and sorry in advance.
Gabby had some bedhead coming back.
Oh my God, it's just so brutal. Those scenes are so brutal when they come back from the dates.
It is the
worst.
It actually is cruel that they make them do that.
It really is, that they all have to sit around and hang
they
out.
just have to sit there and like stare at each other.
It's so nuts. Do we think Susie will be back next week? Do you think that's going to be the big reveal?
I do. Only because that moment in the preview of Jesse Palmer knocking on someone's door, and then it just felt like there's another.
What did he say to Clayton?
That didn't feel final.
Something? No, it didn't. He said to Clayton,
and it doesn't warrant a 2-night finale if she doesn't come back.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Some new news. Something has happened. I think you're going to be happy about it, is what he said, right? Or it's good news or something like that. Whatever. Very much sounds like somebody's coming back.
He said like it's something that's going to change everything.
I think he said both. He said like it'll make you happy, which I thought like interesting. But if I'm thinking correctly in the fact that Clayton is going to be riddled with guilt and very upset with how he handled things, I bet Susie coming back and willing to talk it out or whatever would make him happy and also change everything.
I did really laugh at the moment when it was very serious in the serious moment of Susie leaving, and all of a sudden like Jesse Palmer comes out of nowhere. It cracks me up because it's like some producer on their earpiece was like, we gotta get Jesse in here now. We gotta get Jesse in here now.
Get Jesse up here right now. Get Jesse.
And Clayton's
He's the only man for the job.
Clayton's like, oh, hi Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse's like, what's going on?
Like, tell me.
Fresh out of his hotel room bed.
That just I'm disappointed in Clayton. I
Same.
am. I think, and he warned us. He warned us. He
did.
said he knew that this was going to be rough for him. He knew that he wasn't going to look great. He probably has a lot of regrets about how he handled this.
Totally.
We'll hear from about it next week more in the live show and what I'm assuming there's a live show, but
Probably, yeah. After
I think Susie had a vulnerable moment, like every woman does. Hey, don't really know if I'm gonna be cool with you sleeping with other women. And he had an opportunity to, I think, reassure her and save the moment, and he got way too defensive and way too mean.
Way too mean. On International Women's Day, no less.
On International Women's Day.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Let's take some questions.
Yeah, let's say let's take some
time is it?
cues.
We've been talking for like 3 hours.
It's like almost 11.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
I knew this is how this would go, though.
Yeah.
I knew
Is
it would be a
anybody
very.
still watching? Hello.
Yeah.
Is anybody still there?
When me and Fran found out it was gonna be just the two of us, I was like, this is about to be. People are fighting? Oh, great! I love it. Ooh, let me get in there.
Devin, about what?
What you guys are talking
I'm
I'm
coming.
sure. This is the thing, and just from reading Twitter, it really did feel like there was a lot of people, and once again, not to, there was a lot of men that were like, there was a lot of men who were like, Susie should have said something, and which
I don't. Like I think we talked about this. We don't
I
totally
understand that
disagree
argument.
with that.
I understand that.
We don't totally disagree.
But
That
I
she should have
don't
said
like
something. But the way it was handled was just so bad.
Handled that,
All
the
right,
way he
let's see.
spoke was not great. And if the people were arguing about it in the chat.
People are saying, Kelly, be
bring in
careful of the
discussion.
chat. Be careful of the chat. They're feisty. Ooh, are they feisty towards
Ooh.
us, Devin? I'm nervous.
Who are like Rhea and Kelly, or Rhea. They're saying Fran and Kelly are wrong.
Wrong about what?
Wrong about what? Well, or is it Susie's fault?
People are very,
Yeah, what's the vibe?
I'm sticking with.
it's very like cut dry one way or another. Like people are like,
There's no middle ground. They can't see both
It's either
sides.
Team Clayton or
I
Team
think,
Susie,
I
and
think-
there is a middle ground.
I think we both
There
live in
is.
the middle ground. I
Yeah.
think I think that's a fair place to be. I think that the whole thing was handled terribly.
How could you possibly say that was all
No.
Susie's fault?
That's crazy to me. The way he yelled at her, there's no.
way-
How can
and
you?
also-
how can you?
like, she was just saying how she felt. Was the timing wrong? Maybe. But what was she supposed to do? Just keep it bottled up? That if he was having sex with the other girls, that wasn't going to bother her?
Exactly. Someone says, it seemed like Clayton knew he wanted to pick Susie, so why did he sleep with Rachel and Gabby? That, I misread that. I thought it said, like, so he slept with Rachel and Gabby first? Like that.
I do.
He's not like that. But.
Yeah, no, I have qualms with that as well.
Yeah.
If it was, but for Clayton, I think that's like, it's the name of the game. It's the show. He's like, I have this opportunity.
Yeah.
I am falling in love with these women, or in love, whatever you want to. He says he's in love with Rachel.
Yeah.
And you can think it's Susie all the way up till you have sex with Rachel, and the chemistry is so undeniably off the charts.
Right.
That is important.
They were always
Like,
going to have sex. We knew that from day one. Their passion was
we
unmatched.
can't be acting
A lot
like
of people
we
are
can't be
comparing
acting
it.
like sex is not important before,
It
like
is
in
important.
a to-be marriage.
It's completely important. I would say, first of all, it's one of the most important things. I also don't think it is the most important thing.
Yeah.
If I am these girls, I'm way more upset about the I love yous than I am about the sex. The
Yeah.
sex is like, obviously you had sex with everybody. You got to see what's what. I don't think
for the guys
everybody
that
should have gotten I love yous.
For the guys that really do not like, who just, it's you either the chocolate covered fruit is an apple.
Is it? Sorry for screaming. Oh my God,
Oh my
I'm
God!
sorry to
you
our
know
tech
what?
guys. I didn't mean to
You know what?
scream like that.
That
That
makes
makes so much
sense.
sense. It did
The
taste
skin.
appley. It
skin.
did taste appley. I'm so sorry for screaming so loud. I
Oh
just
my
screeched.
gosh! You
All
know
right.
it was because it was green. The Granny Smith.
The Granny Smith.
Unreal.
But we should have known
That's
by taste.
We should have known.
We should have known
should've
by
known.
taste. The chocolate really masks. Anyway.
Yeah, the chocolate really does.
A lot of people are comparing. Grape? I knew. It couldn't be grape. The grapes are too big. It would have to be like a cotton candy grape.
So like
All right,
for.
so people are saying, wait, before we say that, people
I know
are saying
he's
that
hooking up with all of them.
he's hooking up with all of them. People are saying it's a lot like Pete's season with Madison. Everybody's making that comparison.
It's very similar. It is very, very similar. And
But I want people to remember, Madison was very much black and white, yes or
Yeah.
no, I'm gone. Susie
Yeah.
came in and was wishy-washy about this possible ultimatum. I swear, they could have talked it out.
and it
I'm
comes
convinced.
down to him really believing he has feelings for all these girls. Like I think to Hannah Brown's season and reading her book, like she didn't have sex with Tyler, and it was kind of like it seemed like that didn't happen because at
was
that
like, "Are you
point she
lying?"
knew like Jed was probably the one, and then there was Peter, obviously the whole thing, but like
Windmill sex.
yeah, there's times when it happens and when it doesn't, and I think that Clayton really is so just way in over his head and really feels like he loves all these girls and was like, well, I feel like I love all these girls, so
I'm just testing it out. He's thinking for himself.
sleeping
you know what I mean?
with all of them.
He's looking out for number one.
It's not great. Like he could have also said, I'm going to sleep with none of them.
Right. Like Emily Maynard. Emily Maynard didn't sleep with anybody.
Yeah, like you could have just slept with none of them and went with it off that. But if it's something that is very important to you before you propose,
maybe have a conversation about it. Someone says, how do we think the rose ceremony goes down? Does he give out roses before he explains? It looks like Rachel had a rose. I didn't catch that.
Ooh, I didn't see either. It's possible. I do think at this point Susie's not there. I'm guessing.
Yep.
And I'm thinking it's just like a kind of ceremonial rose ceremony where the two girls are there, there's two roses, and it's like you guys are going on to the end.
Yeah.
Which we have seen happen before.
We have seen
that's
happen before. And it also sucks when that happens because it's like, well, you know, what am I doing here?
And at this point now, I think it does make sense. The way Susie reacted, because everyone's like, why is Clayton saying this? Like, why does he feel the need to say this? At this point, I feel like it makes sense for Clayton, after what just happened with Susie and her feelings about it, that he's like, if I'm going to propose to someone, I have to tell them what happened because now everybody knows.
Definitely.
And also, when you're engaged or if he does propose to someone and you're watching it back on TV and you're watching your now fiance be like, yeah, I slept with everybody. Like,
yeah, what if you don't know that?
And he didn't tell them?
I'll say this, I like the transparency of that though. It's, again, the I love you, I think, really fucks him over. I think if he said I was intimate with all of you, that's less of a sting.
He jumped into the I love yous too fast.
Right, and I admire being like, listen, I did sleep with all of you. I admire that, telling that, being upfront about it. He also never promised that he wasn't gonna do that. Like there are things about that I am on Clayton's side about. It is very much the reaction he had to Susie's problem that turned me off of him, honestly.
Yeah, and
for the moment.
I just really feel like there's not Clayton. Sex happens in the fantasy suites. That's what he knows. That's what is. That's what happens, right? He's like, oh, sex, fantasy
It's a
suites.
fantasy.
1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
And Susie also knows that, but she's going off how that actually makes her feel. You could go on to The Bachelor and be like, yeah, it'll be fine, and then actually get there and be like, holy shit, this is not fine.
Right, and be like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Someone says, who do we think got the best potential Bachelorette edit, Rachel, Gabby, or Susie? I think that's a really good question.
After tonight, you got to go with Susie.
It has to be Susie, yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen with Susie. At this point, I don't think he's proposing to anyone.
That was my last one was, do we think he's going to propose to anybody? I think there's no way.
I don't think he's proposing to anyone.
Point. Would anybody say yes?
That's what I'm saying.
That's more of a thing. Like, I don't think that anything would really stop him.
Shit, he might try and they say no.
Right. Like, I don't think this blow up with Susie would deter him from proposing to Rachel. But I do think, because I think it's between Susie and Rachel. But I do think
Rachel or Gabby could say no if after what just happened.
1,000,000,000%. 1,000,000,000%. Let's see, I'm trying to see if there's one more good one.
You think that I'm So Broken comes after he gets dumped?
Oh my God, could it? Or maybe it's going into
we
that
haven't
rose
heard
ceremony.
it, have we?
I'm trying to think of the outfit that he's wearing.
He didn't say it tonight.
No, he didn't say it tonight.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the outfit he was wearing. I think he was wearing that like turtleneck and blazer, the dark colors. I'm pretty sure we saw him walking around in that outfit. Last question is, do we think that Susie felt as strongly as Clayton did? That I think is also a kind of good question. Because we're talking about this, like she was shocked that he said I love you. Shocked. I don't think she was ready to say that to him either.
I think her feelings were very strong. I think she was surprised. And I think all the women were surprised.
Totally.
Because it's not, you kind of prepare yourself to not hear that. Because it's like,
which is
they're
probably
not
what
supposed
Susie
to say
did.
it back. So
I bet that's what Susie did.
Yeah. And
to soften the blow, you know?
I know. And I do think Susie's feelings for him were really strong.
I think so too.
She, from what it seemed, thought of him very highly. You know, she's like, I felt like you would do this, or if it was me, you would like, I think that, and the way she acted at the end of really being like, I can't believe this is how you're talking to me and how this is all ending.
Yeah.
Showed that she saw it happening differently.
Her standing when he's like opening the door and she's like, I just want to say when he's basically like
He's like,
rushing her
"Get
out
the
of the
fuck out."
place.
Yeah.
When he's standing there with the door and she's like, I can tell like you don't want to hear from me. Like I can tell by everything. I mean, his body
Yeah.
language was, it was brutal. It was brutal to watch. He was so
was.
angry. He was so upset. His ego.
He did not handle that well.
Ego got hurt.
He did not handle that well.
Not well at all. What
And
a disaster.
He clearly had a plan for how this was all going to go down in his head. And once that got derailed, he went into mean Clayton mode.
He was just mean Clayton.
Just mean
He
Clayton.
hulked out. He hulked out. Turned green.
Yeah, he really did. He really did turn green. I
sucks.
did not like that at all.
I didn't like it. I don't like that side of him. I don't want to see it again.
Yeah. All right. I guess we can hand out some roses and cut some stems. I
Yeah.
don't really know. I guess we'll keep this light since this was pretty serious now
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
whole rest of this episode.
see.
I'm going to cut my. I'm going to cut the moment where Clayton. It was so windy before the Susie date, and she was like running to him. She was like blowing over, and Clayton went, "Do the jump."
Oh my God.
And she was like, "I can't." And I was like, "Oh, no, Clayton, do the jump." We're getting rid of that.
I love that
Do
she
the
didn't do the
jump.
jump. I love that she didn't do the jump. You guys know how much I hate the jump. I love
Yeah.
that she was like, no, bitch.
No,
like, this
I'm
is
not
ridiculous.
doing the jump. It's 50-mile-an-hour winds right now. Like, I'm
the
blowing air
scenario
here.
is not for a jump at this moment.
And my rose. Good
funny.
Lord.
It's hard. Roses are hard,
My rose.
especially for an episode like this.
My rose goes to the spiral staircase and the spiral. I'm spiraling while walking down the spiral staircase. They
That's a
really
great
matched
one.
that up nicely with the voiceover to this actual staircase. Producers are working overtime here, and if I were Clayton, I'd be like, "Hey, thanks guys for giving me Susie
Yeah.
third." 'Cause
Right. Yeah. If Clayton's gonna be mad at anybody, call up a producer. Like yell at
I
them.
just can't believe I felt like this season was going to be different. We all felt some Peter vibes at the beginning,
Agreed.
and this is just Peter season.
It is.
Again.
It's almost identical.
It's fairly identical.
What does Clayton do for a living? I forget.
sales?
Sales. Okay. So
Which
not a pilot.
he no longer does,
Okay.
as far as from what I can gather from last week.
he's
yeah.
He's Mr. Famous guy.
Yeah, I think he's going into
Going into the game.
personal training.
That's right. I knew that. Wasn't
Which
sure
is
if we were
the
allowed
game.
to say it. Yeah. Which is the game. Excellent.
Yeah.
Let me think about my rose and stem. I think for rose, I'm going to give an unconventional rose to something that I never give roses to. Get his date with Gabby. I liked that.
It was a great date.
I thought it was cool. They were quadding.
Yeah.
They're doing all kinds of stuff.
Beautiful scenery.
Beautiful scenery.
Yeah.
Give me some beautiful scenery, and I'm usually all in.
Yeah.
And you're not, suspended heights, all that other bullshit. I thought that was a good date. It was fun. I thought it was great for them. When they're hanging out together, they always look like they're having fun. Like we always are saying that they're like hanging out. Baseline is the best, I think. And stems. Oof. I also want to give a petal to Susie's outfit, but I talked about it earlier. So she gets a petal as well for that outfit and those earrings. Stem cut, damn. A lot of things I want to cut, to be honest. I think I'm going to cut all of Clayton's, he only had 2 of them, but his shouting goodbye, I love you proclamations. The I love you too, Rachel. I've fallen in love and it feels good. Like, no.
so good.
Like, yeah, so good. Sorry, it feels so good. I think if the producers are there being like, Clayton, yell it from the mountaintops, yell it from the rooftops, I'm gonna be like, no, I look so fucking lame doing this. Like, you already have me looking so lame. This is worse. I'll cut the stem of that.
And when you look back at those moments, it really, you're like, no wonder this guy got so fucking mad. He thought he was crushing it.
Totally crushing it.
That things were going so well.
like
He was
everything
going to
was
have
great.
sex with all of them.
Right.
He was going to fall in love with all of them. He knew he was going to have to break someone's heart, but that's just the name of the game. And in the preview, we see, it looks like his father tells him he's a big dumb idiot.
Yeah, oh yeah, which I can't wait to see.
Yeah.
I love when parents roast their kids right to their face.
Screwed the pooch.
Yeah, big time. Big time. Do we think, I've never thought about this, do we think that the Bachelor or the Bachelorette know that all the girls are staying together between fantasy suites?
Yeah, Clayton probably doesn't,
Right?
but
I feel like on seasons past, maybe before COVID, they had them
he
in
claims
separate
he's like
spots.
literally never watched a show. He says he's never watched an episode, so.
I don't believe anybody that says that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
If you watched,
We'll have
then
to
yeah,
ask.
you would know.
Maybe
but
we'll ask Caitlin Bristow. She always knows insider info.
Just
She would know
ask somebody.
She would know a stupid detail like
Nikki
that.
V would know.
Nikki V would also know. Yeah, somebody who would know a detail like that would be
Yeah, so next week we have the 2-night finale. We'll be back on Tuesday night again for Cutting Stems.
Yes.
For both nights. I'm really hoping that's not at 11 p.m. Eastern and we have 2 hours and 2 hours. If it's 2 and 3,
that's gonna be tough.
If it's gonna be 2
a
and
late
3,
night.
thank God we're taking a little bit of a break.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah,
once
for
this is
those-
over, it's gonna be a
Have you talked about it on the pod? Probably?
few months.
That we're having a little bit of a break.
Yeah. As of right now, we're gonna have a little bit of a break. I think we won't come back till Paradise.
Which is
Let it settle.
I
and
love
what I
a little
also
break.
do like, because I really do like all 3 of these women, 4 of these women, five. Like I really like these last few women on Clayton's season.
Agree.
Is they're not jumping right into another Bachelorette. So it's not like Susie's or whoever it is coming right off of
fresh off a breakup.
a tough breakup.
Which is how
With
they used to
Clayton,
do
they
it.
did it, but it was like Clayton didn't really make it that far, so it made sense.
Right.
When it's a top 3, top 2 girl, it's hard to do that turnaround to like make them the Bachelorette and be like, oh yeah, she's so ready for love. She was just crying heartbroken 2 weeks ago. Now she's filming the Bachelorette.
Right.
So it seems like we're gonna have some months, and then
That's
everybody's
gonna
an
be-
option.
That's gonna be fantastic. That's how they used to do it. They used to try to keep some time in between to help you grieve your heartbreak, and then they just stopped doing that. These people need to grieve.
Yeah.
And we need a break at the same time.
I wonder.
Who's it gonna be? What's gonna
this
happen next?
Next week? I don't know.
I don't know.
As of right now, my official prediction is he does not propose to anyone.
I think I'm exactly with you. I think Susie will come back, and I think nobody will accept a proposal from him after this.
But do you
this
think
big
he's going to
bombshell.
propose and someone says no, or do you think
think-
he's going to not propose at all? Does he try to propose, or does he not propose at all?
I would think that he would try to propose at least to Rachel.
Okay.
And I don't know if she has the balls to say no.
Yeah.
So if he does propose,
It's just going to
I
be
think
Hannah
he'll get a
Ann
yes.
all over again.
I know.
No.
Here we are.
I'm actually going to go with him not proposing at all.
Time's a flat circle.
Yeah.
Time's a flat circle.
Yeah. All right, that wraps it up. This was a long show for the two of us, but we had a lot to cover. It was quite an action-packed 2 nights that we just had. So
Eventful week.
we will be back next Tuesday for the Cutting Stems finale. I don't know who's going to be here. I
we
hope
don't
it's
know.
everyone.
Yeah, that would be nice.
We will be here.
We got soldiers
Tuesday night.
down. Regardless, we'll be
Yes,
here.
to recap whatever the hell Clayton decides to do. To close, we have an awesome interview with Deepti talking all things Love is Blind Season 2. But first, before we get into that, we have a new incredible app. Not us, I don't have a new app, but there's a new app that
great, congrats.
you can use. Yeah, there's a new app out there that can be used for everyone who buys gasoline. Now, we don't have cars. We live in New York City. However, family members, tons, we understand that this, gas prices, there's a lot. It's crazy right now. It's crazy right now.
I was out of the city a couple weeks ago. Couldn't believe
Yep.
my eyes. The gas prices.
So right now, our listeners can earn cash back for every gallon of gas they buy. You can download the free Get Upside app now. Use promo code OFFICE. So if you're looking for a little extra cash or, money you could use towards paying bills, Get Upside is the perfect app for you. And it's also not just for gas. You can earn up to 30% cash back at grocery stores, restaurants, and food delivery too. Like I said, you just have to use our promo code OFFICE. People can earn 3 times more cash back with Get Upside than any other product. This includes loyalty programs and credit card rewards. And you don't need to really do that here. No points or loyalty rewards here. The users get real cash and can cash out at any time. Get Upside also works with other loyalty cashback and credit or debit card rewards programs, so that means double the points. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code OFFICE to get 25 cents per gallon or more cash back on your first tank. So once again, that's code OFFICE. That's code OFFICE now when you download the free Get Upside app.
All right, everyone, we are here with a very special guest. We are joined by Deepti Vempati, who was on Love is Blind this past season on Netflix. It just finished airing. We all just watched the reunion, and we are super excited to talk about the show and to have you on today. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
How are you feeling now that the season has fully come to an end? Because I know we have watched 2 weeks ago, we watched the actual whole season, but it doesn't always feel complete until that reunion comes out. So we just saw the reunion. Now it's all over. How are you feeling?
Oh man, a glass case of emotions, I think is the perfect word. It's crazy. This whole thing is, I just don't want anyone to get hate over all of the things, but, we've been through such a roller coaster of emotions, I feel like, and it's kind of nice that it's ended because we can all kind of finally move forward and move on. I would say a mixed bag of feelings is the. Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to the beginning of this process for you and just ask, what motivated you to sign up for this show? What made you want to do this show? And did it live up to your expectations?
Yeah, actually, one of my friends sent it to me and was like, you'd be great on this. And after looking at it, I was like, there's no way my brown parents would be okay with it, especially on such a public platform. But, the more I got into the questionnaires and what they were asking, it seemed like it was so deep, in depth, and you're really looking for your husband. That's nothing short of that, right? So I thought this was something that would really benefit me. And honestly, I just wanted a unique love story. I wanted something unconventional, and what a beautiful thing to tell your kids, oh yeah, I found your dad on a TV show like this. So yeah, I think just the whole uniqueness of it is what drew me in. And honestly, I did not expect it to be this way. You just get so emotional so quickly, and I didn't expect myself to love and care for someone so fast. So yeah.
So obviously you had a thought going into it of what it would be like. What was that thought versus what it actually was like once you got in the pods and you really can't see the other person? That must be extremely frustrating.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. When you watch the first season, it's nothing like actually going through it. You're like, oh, cool. You make some friends, you create a connection. But honestly, the emotions are so real and you get so vulnerable so quickly. And yeah, it's tough not to see them, but it's kind of nice too, because when you take away the physical aspect of it, you can kind of just be yourself. You're not worried about, do I have food in my teeth, or how am I acting? Am I sweating? All of these other nonsensical things that come with, a first date, you kind of eliminate that. So it's nice, and it's easy to get deep and real quickly.
So it's a big cast, when you first start out, there's a lot of people, and when it cuts down pretty quickly as soon as those first 5 episodes come out the next week, it's so focused on the couples that do get engaged, so we don't really get to meet everyone that signs up for the show. Did you get to talk to everyone? How? Because it just feels like, I guess, that process, it seems so intense to us even just watching. And then you think there's actually, however many more men there was for you to actually talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. On that first day, I talked to all 15 men. So, of course, I didn't know them like I do the girls, because in the girls' lounge, you're obviously talking to everyone.
Right.
So I would say very, very close to the girls, of course. But after the first couple of days, it kind of dwindles down into your top 10, and then your top 5. And then it's just your top 3, and then you're number 1. So yeah, in the pods, I had a lot of time with Shake. During the day we would have an hour and a half dates, and then nighttime dates were 3 hours. So I think in totality, we probably spent 40-50 hours together just talking.
That's so it's so much time.
That is so much talking.
So much
and I
time.
think when you watch the show, obviously how much time you guys spend talking to a certain extent, but there's only an hour-long episode, so you see a little bit of each, and then you're like, how can these people be walking down the aisle? They barely even know each other. But I guess when you're talking for that period of time, you got to get to know each other a little bit. And obviously you did do that with Shake, and you got engaged and you walked down the aisle, but you didn't end up saying yes. From what point did you know that you weren't going to say yes?
Yeah, I mean, Shake has been pretty upfront with me, and you don't see my side of it either. And I kind of also backed off in Mexico because I could see something had changed in him. And, I don't mind or I don't care that he wasn't like physically attracted to me. But I think like closer to the end, when we're getting closer to the weddings, we had a couple intimate dates, like you see the massage date and things like that. And at that point, I was just like, why are we forcing something that's not there? Like, I shouldn't have to make him see me. And it's okay if you're not physically attracted to me. If that's a problem and we have a chemistry issue, it is what it is, right? So I think my mindset started to change, and I started to think to myself, like, is this somebody I even want, or is this, why am I putting the ball in his court? So, my mindset kind of shifted, and I was like, you know what? He should know. If he knows, he knows. So obviously I can't say yes. How could I?
Yeah. And I feel like watching the show from the outside looking in, you guys kept talking about how your emotional connection is so strong and you want to marry your best friend. And you obviously, because at the end of the day, if you guys grow old together, like the physical can go away and it's the emotional that matters. But then you think about it and you're like, well, the physical does matter too. Like you can't be with somebody and just not be at the very beginning physically attracted at all, because then that chemistry is just not there, and it is more like friends than being husband and wife.
Right, exactly. You might as well just be friends then, right? Yeah.
Right. So how did you feel at that point then? Because one of the most interesting parts of the show to me too is that everybody really does have to get their friends and or family involved, right? There is a wedding, there's a wedding day, and there's guests, and there's friends and family, and all these people here. You're wedding dress shopping, you're doing all these things. How was that process for you, and how did you kind of explain to your family what was going on, and how did they receive that?
Yeah, it was really tough because these are all these like first moments, right? Even getting engaged, picking out your wedding dress, walking down the aisle with my dad. And yeah, it's really tough. It was tough going through it because I knew what my decision was going to be. Maybe I did hold out on like a little tiny bit of hope that like maybe on that day, like something would change. I don't know, like because the thought of losing someone, sometimes makes you realize you don't want to lose them. But if I didn't have such a supportive family and friend group, I don't think I would have been able to make it through that day. But yeah, it was really bittersweet. But at the end of the day, I built a friendship with Shake, and that's what I wanted to celebrate. It was our unique love story, even though it's just a friendship. We had love for each other.
But when you watched the show back and saw what he was saying when you weren't around, did that change your feelings about him?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we tried to be friends after filming had wrapped, but I just had to distance myself because, I kind of saw more of how he was on social media, and like, he had some issues with some of the other castmates as well. And, it was just kind of draining, energy draining. So I just kind of distanced myself, and then watching it over again was really hard. It was really hard for me to watch because to my face, he did say, he's not physically attracted to me, but the way he said it behind my back was what was hurtful. Yeah. And for my family to have watched that was I think the toughest part.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you were relieved after, the reunion and watching it all back that you obviously did not go through with it, because I feel like everyone's opinion on him is like, all right, well, he's not the best guy for you or really anyone in general.
Yeah, that's so sad to hear. But yeah, honestly, if I was married to him, I'd probably be filing for divorce because that's would have been my husband. Like how could I like go through life knowing that that's how he felt about me the whole time?
Yeah, I actually thought that Ayana said it so, I think it was Ayana who said it so well in the reunion. She was like, and it really did feel like it came from a good place of her saying, you know, I really think therapy for you specifically on how like a narcissist can have a relationship or date in a relationship would be super helpful. And I honestly thought that was like the most constructive criticism he got the whole time, because there were a lot of moments, whether it was interrupting people or giving his opinion on other couples that nobody asked for, that just obviously unraveled. And you said, you know, you're very close with these girls and the friendships that you've created. I have a question timeline wise. When did you go through the pods and when did you guys reunite for the reunion?
So filming had wrapped, like my wedding day was June 10th.
Okay.
And filming or reunion just happened about like 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay. So it's been months, a lot of months.
Yeah. And did those feelings come back when you saw everyone again for the reunion? Have you seen Shake since then? Like, what was your thought showing up to the reunion?
Yeah, you know, so I've run into Shake here and there. We don't really hang out that much, but aside from like a group setting sometimes. But yeah, no feelings came back. Honestly, I just wanted to give him also constructive criticism. I just wanted to let him know that watching it back from my perspective, it hurt me and my family. But I wish him the best. I mean, from afar, I wish him the best. But yeah, I really do hope he can watch this and learn how to speak to women and just, you know, be better. And if he needs to get help and understanding that, like, that's what I wish for him.
Yeah.
But I just want him to see my perspective on why I was hurt.
Yeah. Even just on maybe the social media stuff is hard. I think it was even just this morning he called Nick Lachey a massive twat in an Instagram caption. Yeah. So
unfortunately, I don't know if he's going to learn.
It feels like there's not quite a filter on social media.
Exactly. And I know that like hurt people.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, yeah, I honestly don't know what's going on in his head.
Yeah. Well, on a positive note, we did see a moment with Kyle during the reunion where he said, I should have proposed to you. And that kind of threw us all for a loop. We were like, wait a second. What? Like, just because we never really saw that. So what was your connection like with Kyle during the pods, and is there anything currently going on?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, see, so you don't see a lot of this, but I was actually very, very torn between Kyle and Shake. Kyle was my number 2 person. And yeah, I was really struggling because, you know, I could envision this future with Shake, you know, I could picture it in my head. With Kyle, it would have been like an adventure, you know, it'd be such like a unique love story. And I don't know how it would have ended up really. So yeah, I think Kyle and we're close. And, you know, I'm just going to say tune into After the Altar to see a little bit more about our story.
Ooh.
After the altar. So we get the reunion and then we get the After the Altar.
Yeah.
There's so much.
After the Altar is great, and I hope we get it soon. And I know like COVID obviously played a big factor with the first seasons After the Altar, because it did seem like we had to wait a really long time for that. Wow, that's good. What a tease. What a tease.
And do you feel maybe a little bit better now? Maybe it was all for a reason that you didn't pick Kyle and you ended up with Shake and that didn't work out. And now whatever's going on with you and Kyle, you guys are close. Whatever you guys can be exploring can now just be done. In the actual
world.
Yeah, in the actual world, not on TV. It could be your guys' own thing. Do you feel better about that now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was supposed to go through everything I did with Shake just so I can learn more about myself and like, you know, bring that confidence that I came into the show with. I needed to rebuild that. And yeah, I learned so much about me. And yeah, who knows if Kyle and I did that thing, you know, maybe we wouldn't have worked out because of the pressures of filming. And so, you know, we're still under a microscope, you know, being in the public eye now. But I think, yeah, we could have a shot at, you know, doing things a little differently.
What about future reality shows now that you have one under your belt? Because you know how it goes.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't negate it, but I just think I'd have to be very careful. And I'm never going to do probably a dating show because I put my family through enough. No more on-screen kissing for me. My poor grandpa. It's just like, what are you doing? So yeah, I just have to be respectful of my family and friends as well. So, because I represent them when I do anything public.
Yeah. So you got to know all these girls pretty well, and we did see 2 couples actually, go through with it and get married, and that also did not work for some of the others. Were you surprised, or I guess surprised is really the word, about the couples that did get married, or did everything kind of like afterwards we were like, yep, that checks out?
Yeah, actually, I knew that Danielle and Nick, even in the pods, they were so like, they would be the Lauren and Cameron style, although no one's Lauren and Cameron, they're their own style, And this is a completely different season, but they knew right away, like they gravitated towards each other. I just knew they would work out. And same with Ayanna and Jared. If you see them in real life, they're just so bubbly and they complement each other so well. And I knew that would work too. The only couple I think that surprised me would have been Shane and Natalie. There's just so much love there, and I really thought they would say yes. But I respect Natalie's decision, and I think, she did what's best for her.
I think I was most shocked by Natalie and Shane because for some reason I thought Shane wasn't going to go through with it, only because of the whole thing with Shayna, and I felt like Natalie was like so in on Shane the entire time. So that
it feels like maybe that was played up more, than
so that it would
really
be more
was.
shocking.
Yeah.
At the end, but then watching it back and there's a fight they talk about and you're like, all right, something happened that we don't know about, but it was probably for the best that they didn't end up getting married.
Right. It did. Was there any element, because obviously like you said, you guys all kind of hang out in group settings and whatnot. And because I think of how we watched it, everybody really did focus on Shane and Shayna and think that there was maybe a lot going on that we didn't see. Is that how you saw it, or do you think we were that was twisted a little bit?
Yeah, I honestly watched all that back with the rest of the world, and I'm not going to lie, Shake and I were in our bubble, and, I didn't know that much that was happening because outside of us, except for that bonfire when we're together and there's like bachelorette parties. And I don't think Natalie even knew the extent of it all. Like even that bonfire scene, as you can see, I wasn't part of their conversation. So I had no idea what was said until it aired. So I didn't even know that Shayna and Shane were a big thing, honestly.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's weird what ends up being put out there versus what you guys have seen. How are you adjusting to social media now? You go on the show, probably, I don't know what your following was like before, but obviously when these shows get broadcasted everywhere and everyone's following so closely, they become so invested.
Kim Kardashian last night was tweeting about how she's locked into
you
this
have
season.
all these celebrities watching and everyone is so focused on you guys. How are you handling that? How are you managing your day-to-day life now that everyone's watching you?
Yeah, it's kind of tough because, I'm still working and
I was going to say, what's your regular job?
I'm in IT. I'm a data analyst. Yeah, so I'm still doing that, and plus it's a lot. It's like constantly being on, and I'm getting so much love and support, and honestly, I'm in such awe of it. Like I can't believe that I've inspired people. That's crazy to say because I'm just like a regular person who just kind of did a thing, but it's incredible the amount of support I'm getting, and I'm so grateful for it. But I know that a lot of my cast members and me, myself included, have gotten a lot of hate messages also. So it's really hard to fall into the trap of it affecting your mental health. So I'm trying to do my best to just stay grounded and just, concentrate on the positive things and just look at the good things that are coming from it.
Yeah, I will say I respect you a lot, and you were one of my favorites from this season because I just felt like you sent a great message to women that when you maybe are when men are criticizing you or talking about you never wavered, it felt like in how you felt about yourself, which I think is so important because we had Shake making comments, body comments and all these things, and you were like, that's fine, he can feel that way, but I love me the way that I am. And I think that's a lot of people need to hear that sometimes.
And also
Yep.
the way that your mom reacted after the wedding, and she broke down to tears, and you kept saying you chose yourself, and she was so proud of you, and I think also relieved at the same time that you made your decision for yourself. And like Fran said, sometimes people lose their confidence and feel like they just have to go along with something, but watching you, it's like you can make the decision for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Throughout that process, my confidence did waver. There was moments where I felt myself, low because of it. And I had the support of my family and friends to be like, hey, don't forget how dope you are. You've come a long way, and, you've built yourself up. And yeah, towards the end of it, I was like, you're right. Like, what am I doing? Don't ever waver your self-worth and your confidence. Absolutely.
So just to close on a funny note, right? Like Nick and Vanessa Lachey, we see them during the reunion, and they seem very involved and invested in all the relationships. What was your relationship like with them filming the show? And did you feel like Vanessa kind of had your back during the reunion? Because I thought she was going to jump off that couch at certain points.
Yeah, no, they're amazing, like just beautiful souls. And you could tell they really cared about us. And especially Vanessa, we got pretty close, like even during the Bachelorette, like the bridal stuff, she opened up about her family, and she just was so personable. And yeah, she totally had my back. But honestly, I don't think she had the intention of trying to like go in there trying to be defensive towards me. I think it was more, just what he was saying kind of upset people. And so she kind of had to jump on it and be like, that's not okay, So yeah, I do respect and love her for that.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess to close, we can assume you're not really going to have much of a friendship with Shake going forward.
Yeah, honestly, I wish him the best, but at this point, there's just so much that's happened, and I just need to move on.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And you guys are all in Chicago, right? You're all in Chicago. So I guess,
cool.
you run into people. Chicago, it's not that big. So, just, I guess that is why I was saying this to Rhea, that is one of the things I do love about the show, it is always all people from the same area. Because otherwise, I think it would be even harder for it to work.
Exactly.
Even that, like, it already is so hard. But Deepti, we wish you all the best. Thank you so much for joining us and talking to us about your experience. And I guess we got to look forward to after the altar to
we're
really
excited.
find out what's going on, huh?
Yes, tune in. And thank you so much for your time. I'm happy to be here.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back on Friday. Hopefully everyone's feeling good, feeling well. It's a regular show. It's tough out there, but thank you all for listening. We love you all. I've always wanted to get to say that. Rhea's always the one that says it. We love you all so much.
You are.
Yeah.
Love that. I love you too, even though you don't love me that much.
I love you, Kelly.
Thank you, Fran.